Hello. Okay, we're gonna try and explain here the magic circle and getting into making a circle, a flat circle, kind of like this that I have here. You have your start here and you started your first row. These are actually inside the magic circle, and then you start into your second row and crochet around. And this is just called crocheting in the round, so that this is the start of that row and this is the end of the row. Doing a joined circle would be something like this, where this is the start of that round and this is the end of that round. You can tell the difference here. This has the raised here, and this is completely straight across. Depending on what you're looking for, just depends on what you're gonna want to do. But I'll show you the two different ways to do this. Making stuffed animals or amigurumi usually uses this. It's called crocheting in the round. Most hats and other circle type items do the joined circle or joined in the round, however they state it. But I'll show you how to do that. And as you can see here, to mark the beginning of my round, I just use a bobby pin because that's quick, simple, and it stays in pretty good. Doesn't usually fall out very easy, but it's quick to get in and to get out. And that just marks, for sure, if it's not joined, that marks the first stitch, so then I know when to go on to my next increase and keep track of my stitches and how many I have in this round. If not, you'll just keep crocheting around and around and around and get really, really confused. So anyways, let's go back to the beginning here. And if you already know a magic circle, I'll just show you how I do mine. I have the end of the yarn here hanging down. I wrap the yarn around my two fingers this way and then cross it over to the back. So I have this X here. I hold that X with my thumb, insert my hook here, and basically just pull that other yarn through that loop right there. Now I kind of hold this and I pull my fingers out of that loop. Okay? Then I grab my yarn that's coming from my skein, and you can hold it however you want to. That's just how I hold it. So then now we have our loop here, and this is on here, and I always chain one. Chain one no matter what you're gonna do. Most amigurumi, stuffed animals, whatever you want to call them, start with single crochet. They won't actually tell you chain one. They'll just say 6 single crochet in a magic circle. Chain one just secures secures the yarn right here, so you're not fiddling with it too much. If you want to do a hat, they don't usually do single crochet for hats. They usually do half double crochet or double crochet, and that's when you would just chain an extra one and start your double crochet. So now you have your chain 2. But for this instance, we'll chain 1, and then we'll work kind of like we're starting a stuffed animal. We'll work 6 single crochet into this magic circle here. So we have our first single crochet right there. And this is where I like to take my bobby pin, and I'm going to put it under, you see this loop here and this loop here. I'm going to hook it under that one and that one, because that's the top of my single crochet, and that's actually right where I'm going to put my hook when I come back around. So that's 1, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Amigurumi usually starts with 6. Hats would start with 8 to 10, just because it needs to be a little bit bigger. in your circles. So do whatever pattern you're doing or whatever you want. You can play, if you're coming up with your own pattern, play around with it. But then you can just go back and count back from your hook. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay? So now you're going to take this little tail you have and you're going to pull your circle closed. Pull it closed. Now if you hadn't stuck your marker in this first one, it might be a little bit difficult to figure out where your first stitch is. Just because you have this as your chain 1 here that we did to begin with. It's a little bit difficult to see. That's where counting back would be okay. You can find your first stitch here, or just put your bobby pin in and it makes it easier. Sometimes when you're starting your next row, it's a little bit difficult to get that hook in there in this first one because it just seems to be tightened. That's where I actually kind of pull up just a little bit on my bobby pin here, and that will, that actually kind of stretches it out. Okay, so to do a joined circle, what you would do is stick your hook in that first loop, and you're actually going to slip stitch, and that means you pull through and you have these 2 on there, and you don't yarn over again, you just pull that one through, and that's a slip stitch. And that pretty much ends your first round. Okay, and in order to go on to your second round, Mom, you would chain up, and then you would start in that same first stitch that you put your slip stitch. That's when you would start your next round. Okay, and as you go on to the second round, most second rounds is just 2 of whatever stitch you're doing in each stitch around. Okay, so we started with 6 single crochet. This next round we're going to end up with 12 single crochet. So we have 1, 2, and 2. This is what they call an increase, because you're increasing the amount of stitches, and that usually just means put 2 single crochet into 1 stitch. So you have 1, 2, here's your next stitch here, so you'll do 2 more in there, which makes it 3 and 4, and as you go around you can just count. I mean, you're going to end up with 12, and once you get back over here to the end, you're going to do the same thing. If you're doing the joined circle, you'll just slip stitch into this first stitch. And once again, I forgot, because I forget to do it sometimes, but to go back and put in your marker, so we counted 4, count backwards, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is your 1 first stitch, and you'll just hook that right in there. So that marks your first stitch. So when you get back over here and you've counted to 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you know that you're just going to slip stitch, put your hook here, slip stitch, and end that second row. And you'll just keep going on and on around like that. Each row that you go into, starting your third row, you'll get to a different pattern of increase, and most of your patterns that you have will tell you how to do that. So if you're following a pattern, just follow what the pattern says, but that shows you how to do one way of going on to your next round out of the magic circle. I'm going to take this out and I'm going to show you how to do this part here where you're not slip stitching at the end of each row. And that one is literally, okay, so this is the magic circle. We've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 single crochet, and it's pretty much just omitting or taking out that slip stitch. You're still going to go into this first single crochet here, but instead of slip stitching, you're going to go and do whatever stitch you're doing, your single crochet, and that is the start, the first one of your second row. And this is why you're going to need to mark it, because as you go around, there's no definite start. Like the slip stitch kind of makes a definite start and end to each row. These just keep going around. And like I said, on row 2, you're going to do increases. So you're going to have 2 single crochet per stitch. Okay. So you have 1, 2, and you'll just go around. 3, 4. Sorry, I'm not very fast, but we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we have this one last stitch here. So we go 11, and in that same one, there, we're doing 12. Now, since we didn't slip stitch, it would be very easy to just continue on and not remember where the start of that thing is, but that's why we have the bobby pin or the stitch marker, whatever you're using. And then I just like to pull on this tail to get out that little hole that's in the middle. And what I do, usually about the end of the second row, is I actually tie a knot in it and pull it tight. So then that will stop coming undone. I'm not gonna actually tie one there, but that's what I normally do with all of my projects. And then with this, you just continue on with your pattern to get as big a circle as you want. If it starts to bubble, like do a ripple, it's probably because you're increasing too many times. So it'll start to do a ripple effect instead of a flat circle, because you can see with these are relatively flat. They're not ripply. So if it starts to ripple or curve up on you, if it's curving up on you like this, you're not increasing enough. So if it's starting to make a bowl, you need to add in, double check your pattern for increasing. But if you're able to lay it flat, then you're doing pretty good. You're right on schedule with that. So anyways, I hope this helps. Let me know if you need any more help or instructions, and I'll see what I can do in making another video. Thank you.